Good morning, all you people. Good to be with you. We're talking about the prophet Joel. And the prophet Joel came to the people of Israel with a very powerful prophetic message. And he was talking to the people about what it meant to be restored to God, to repent and to return so that we could be restored, to have the years that the locusts have eaten. That's basically what we're talking about these next couple of days. We've spoken about the fact that sheep need very often to be restored, just like us. And if restoration with God is what we need, we can learn an awful lot from those creatures who are so crazily teaching us so much stuff. We've spoken so far about how sheep can become cast, where they're lying on their back, they're helpless, they're useless, because they've eaten too much and they're just plain fat. Oh, there's nothing wrong with eating good food. Nothing wrong with that at all. But if that's all we do, then we have a problem. And so the sheep needed to be exercised. They needed to be rationed. And in the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 32, we have Moses talking to the fat Israelites. And he's saying to them, guys, you are called Jeshurun, which means that you are to become spiritually fat. And you look at the children of Israel and you say, how on earth could they, living in a wilderness, become spiritually fat? Well, it was easy. You see, God was there. As long as Moses was amongst them, they knew they would be okay, because Moses had the connection with God that they desired. And so every time they wanted something, they'd run to Moses. Moses were thirsty and he would produce water. Moses were hungry and God would send manna. Moses was the key to their being sustained, and the key at the end of the day to them becoming hungry. In Deuteronomy 32, it's such an incredible story. Moses is at the end of his life. He calls the nation to himself and he gives them a history lesson starting from way back in Egypt. And he talks them through all the things that they learned in the wilderness and in the desert, about how the enemies they were destroyed and how they fell into temptation and how they succeeded and how mainly they failed. But at one particular time in this chapter, he uses that term I mentioned, Jeshurun, which means you become fat, you become sleek, you become lazy. That's a powerful word. Kind of derogatory it would be said if someone told you that. But Moses was being very, very honest with the people, and he was saying, all through the wilderness, did God ever let you down? There were times when you tested him, but he never ever let you down. You people have taken God for granted. You people have abused God's kindness. You people need to repent and to return so that you too can be restored. This fatness of soul is a dangerous place to be, where everything we have we just take for granted. You know, we go to church, we take it for granted. We pick up that amazing book, the Bible, and we take it for granted. And as a result, ingratitude is an outworking of a fat Christian's life, where really nothing's good enough and everything's just criticized and everything is done with a critical spirit. Let's change that around. Let's be grateful for all that God does for us. I know it's not perfect, and it never will be. If perfection is what you want, you better wait for heaven. But right now, we live in an imperfect world. But there is no excuse for ingratitude and hard-heartedness toward the provision of God for you. That Jeshurun word frightens me. Could it be that we've now become adequate in ourselves? We've become adequate in the way that we can do church on our own. We can go to church, we can press a button and we can do the whole deal. We don't even need God to turn up at church for us to do church and think that we're doing it okay. And it's so sad to think that God would arrive at church and be a stranger in amongst us. That would be awful to think. So it's this Jeshurun spirit that is really something that makes us think that we don't need anything. We've got it all. I remember speaking to some people some time back, and they came from another country around the world, and they came to visit Genesis at the Norwegian Settlers Church. And I was taking them on a tour, and one of the men walked up to me and said, "Hey Trev, God is obviously very big here in Africa." And I said, "Yeah, God is huge here. we love him, we want to serve him, we want to do that. And he said, well, where I came from a very affluent place. He says, God's not big where I come from. I said, well, why not? He said, because we don't need him. He relegated spiritual need to just being physical need. People, the need of our souls is far greater than the need of our bodies. In fact, prosperity is a greater challenge to the Christian church than poverty is, because we're so easily distracted. We so easily become ungrateful. Let's think about these powerful truths. And they're not popular truths. We don't want to hear this stuff, do we? But at the end of the day, it's good for us. And it gets us out of that cast position and restores our soul. Go and have a good day, you people. We'll see you soon.